In the vast pantheon of iconic JRPG villains, one man always sticks out in my mind. A man more chilling and cruel than any other I'd experienced before. Luca Blight from Suikoden 2. Sadistic and psychotic. Can people be born as monsters? How could someone turn from an innocent child to power-hungry maniac? Luca's story is both horrifyingly evil and horrifyingly somber. In the war-torn lands of Suikoden 2, a chilling figure emerges from the shadows. Luca Blight, the Mad Prince of Highland. His very name evokes fear and revulsion. Luca's cruelty knows no bounds, his sadistic nature driving him to commit horrific acts of violence and destruction against both soldiers and innocent civilians. He's truly a malevolent force fueled by unbridled hatred and a lust for power. The Dunan Unification War is the central driving force of Suikoden 2. A brutal conflict sparked by the ambition and hatred of the Mad Prince. Highland, a military-focused nation that's existed for over 200 years, has had long histories of conflict and border disputes with their neighbor, the Jostin city-states. Luca's hatred for Jostin wasn't just a personal vendetta. He actively sought to dismantle the system he believed had wronged him. He orchestrated the massacre of the Unicorn Youth Brigade, skillfully blaming the city-states to trigger the very war he was craving. As commander of the Highland Army, Luca reveled in leading from the front, unleashing a wave of devastation upon the lands, slaughtering both soldiers and civilians in a relentless campaign. Luca's cruelty knew no bounds. He razed villages like Todo and Ryub, massacring their people without mercy, including a horrific scene that was etched into my impressionable young mind when I first played Suikoden 2 as a kid. His cruel actions even drove Joey Atreides into betraying the city-states and assassinating Mayor Annabelle, which opened the gates of Muse City to the invading Highland army. With Muse under his control, Luca began conducting gruesome sacrifices, looking to unleash the full destructive potential of the Beast Rune, a powerful and malevolent force. Luca's relationship with the Beast Rune wasn't a one-sided affair. The Beast Rune, with its own will and governing animalistic rage, also amplified Luca's inherent bloodlust and hatred. Their connection created a self-reinforcing cycle of violence, with each act of destruction solidifying their twisted symbiotic bond. The Rune's manifestation as Golden Wolves not only served to further Luca's military objectives, but also seemed like a reflection of his own inner demons and his desire to unleash primal chaos upon the world. Eventually, the sheer brutality of Luca's reign prompted Joey and his strategist Leon Silverberg to ally with the New Alliance army. They devised a plan to trap Luca, luring him into a devastating night ambush. Despite facing a relentless onslaught from the combined forces of the New Alliance army and their allies, Luca fought with incredible savagery, cutting down wave after wave of enemies. Wounded and cornered, Luca finally faced the leader of the New Alliance army, Ryu, the player, in a brutal one-on-one duel. Despite his imminent defeat, Luca remained unrepentant, laughing maniacally as he succumbed to his wound, proclaiming himself the true face of evil, a villain etched in memory, defeated. But as we all celebrate and take a sigh and breath of relief, let's look back at the full scope and life of Luca Blight before he earned the name Mad Prince. Luca's childhood was shattered by a horrific ambush. While traveling with his parents, King Agarys and Queen Sarah, their entourage was attacked by bandits. Luca's father, who was consumed by cowardice, fled the scene, leaving his wife and son to the mercy of their attackers. Luca was forced to witness the unspeakable act of his mother's brutal assault, is putting it lightly. A trauma that would forever scar his psyche and ignite a deep-seated hatred for his father and the city-states. His mother's ordeal led to her conceiving Luca's younger half-sister, Giulia, but the trauma ultimately claimed his mother's life. This tragic consequence of the attack further cemented Luca's resentment towards his father, who'd failed to protect them, and toward the city-states of Jostin, who he blamed for the attack. And despite Luca's utter contempt for basically all of humanity, Giulia is the one person he seemingly shows a degree of leniency towards. It's not due to any personal affection or warmth on his part, but rather her striking resemblance to their mother, Sarah, a figure who Luca is deeply attached to, whose suffering he carries as a profound wound. Giulia, as a living reflection of his traumatized mother, acts as sort of an anchor for Luca, a reminder of the past that fuels Luca's rage, yes, but also paradoxically limits his outright cruelty towards her. This resemblance allows Giulia to speak to Luca on relatively equal terms, a privilege granted to nobody else, not even his father. Luca would later discover that the bandits were hired by Mu City from the Jostin states, the bandits that hurt him and his mother so much. This knowledge, coupled with his father's perceived betrayal or actual betrayal, considering how you look at cowardice, fueled his profound hatred for both Ageres and the city-states. He became convinced that strength was the only truth in a cruel world, and that weakness, exemplified by his father's actions, deserved only death. This twisted belief would underpin his future atrocities and his obsession with unleashing the destructive power of the Beast Rune. But we know how that story ends. Luca Blight's demise marked the end of a life defined by unparalleled evil and destruction and trauma. However, his influence continued to cast a long shadow, as the war he ignited raged on under the leadership of Joey, his half-sister's new husband. Luca's tragic past doesn't excuse his monstrous actions, obviously, but it does provide insight and a disturbing glimpse into the dark potential within humanity when trauma, hatred, and the corrupting influence of power converge. His legacy as the Mad Prince of Highland, a figure of pure malevolence, is etched into the memory of every player who dared to challenge the depths of his evil in Suikoden 2. So tell me, is the Mad Prince on your Mount Rushmore of evil JRPG villains? He's definitely on mine. Probably number 1 or number 2, to be honest. Definitely top 3. I mean, let's look at maybe the 2 most iconic JRPG villains really quick, just to compare. First, we have, of course, Sephiroth, the iconic bad guy of Final Fantasy VII. I mean, he's often cited as sort of a sympathetic figure. His descent into madness was triggered by the revelation of his origins and the trauma of his past. While his actions are undeniably destructive and devastating to the world, they're arguably motivated by a desire to gain power and remake the world in his image, albeit a twisted and self-serving one. His cruelty, while present, often feels like a byproduct of his ambition rather than its driving force. And then, of course, we have Kefka from 6, and he just embodies this chaotic evil. A jester who turned a god who seeks to destroy the world for seemingly no other reason than to watch it burn. His actions are often over the top and theatrical, characterized by a gleeful disregard for human life and a dark sense of humor, a very dark sense of humor. While undoubtedly cruel in his own right, Kefka's brand of evil is more about, to me, it was more about pure nihilism and a desire for chaos rather than a calculated personal sadism directed toward any particular individual or group. In stark contrast, Luca Blight's a villain who revels in inflicting pain and suffering on a personal level. His cruelty isn't an afterthought or a means to an end. It is an end in itself. a testament to his deeply twisted nature. Consider these examples. Luca orchestrated the slaughter of the Unicorn Youth Brigade, the Youth Brigade, young and inexperienced soldiers, to incite war and lay blame on the city-states, willing to sacrifice his own people to further his ambitions. Luca also forces a scared woman, a scared poor woman, to act like a pig and beg for her life before slaughtering her in front of her burning village. I mean, it's just one of the most messed up video game scenes in pixel form that I can think of. An act that showcases his psychological and physical sadism, and scarier, his enjoyment of degrading others. This blatant disregard for human dignity and the perverse pleasure he derives from it sets him apart from other villains who might just kill out of necessity or for their own twisted ideals. Luca's actions in battle aren't merely about strategic victory, they're about satisfying his insatiable thirst for violence and bloodshed. Of course, we saw where this behavior came from, but it's so much more sick and twisted than anything else I've seen that it's hard to reconcile that with his past, although I understand how it came about. You see this a lot in real-life psychopaths and serial killers, unfortunately. Ultimately, Luca Blight stands as a truly unique and terrifying JRPG villain due to his emphasis on personal cruelty and sadistic delight in inflicting suffering. While other antagonists may boast grander schemes, Luca's unapologetic embrace of evil and his enjoyment of violence make him a force to be reckoned with, leaving a long-lasting impression on the players who dare to face him. Alright, thank you all so much. I appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And was I able to convince you that Luca Blight is the scariest and most psychotic and evil villain in JRPG history? Let me know in the comments. All that good, juicy stuff. Have an amazing day, and God bless.